Russia launched a drone strike on the Ukrainian city of Sumy overnight, killing at least 2 people and injuring 12 more, according to local authorities. It comes as Russia also fired a new ballistic missile in response to Kyiv's use of US and British longer-range missiles. The Kremlin says the strike on Dnipro was designed to warn the West that it could be used to attack countries supplying military aid to Ukraine. Let's first take a listen to Russian Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov speaking earlier.
Что касается реакции на наш ответ, я так понимаю, Зеленский испугался.
Regarding the reaction to our response, as I understand it, Zelensky got scared. He directly began to accuse his hosts of leaving him unarmed in the face of such an action by Russia. Well, this is probably a useful result, because it allowed at least to be closer to reality, to feel it on your own skin, I would say. As for what to expect from Biden and his outgoing administration, well, ATACMS supplies and allowing the British and French to use Storm Shadows and Scalp missiles, of course, is an act of leaving a bad legacy to the next administration.
Well, let's get some analysis now with France 24's Andrew Hilliar from our International Affairs Desk. Hi, Andy. So what does Ukraine and its Western allies fear so much about this new missile then?
Well, Ukraine and its NATO allies are taking this very seriously indeed. NATO already announcing an emergency meeting that will be held next Tuesday. That's at the request of Ukraine to discuss the use of this new missile, this hypersonic intermediate range ballistic missile. Now, the Ukrainian parliament today cancelled a session over security fears, over fears that it could be targeted. The Kremlin also saying today that it hoped that the West would take this as a clear warning. So what do we know about the missile itself? Well, the Russians have called it Oreshnik. It's an intermediate range ballistic missile, as I just mentioned, with a range of up to 5,000 kilometers, 5,500 kilometers roughly. It's based on the design of another Russian intercontinental missile. So this is a hypersonic missile that can travel up to 10 times the speed of sound, if not more. And it appeared to carry multiple warheads. So this is a missile that can release multiple warheads at extremely fast speeds. Now, technically, that's known as a multiple independently targetable re-entry vehicle, to give you the military terminology. And in this case, the missile appeared to be carrying conventional warheads, but it can be equipped to carry nuclear warheads. So few countries actually have this technology. That the US, Russia, the UK, France and China do. Pakistan and India thought to be experimenting with the technology. But what does make this significant and what has made Ukrainians, I would say, fearful is the fact that this is a weapon that can travel further and is much more difficult to intercept. Of course, it's very hard for Ukrainian air defenses to intercept multiple warheads at the same time. So it will be hard for Ukraine to defend itself against these kind of attacks.
So then how serious of an escalation is this?
Well, I mean, using a ballistic missile with multiple warheads in offensive combat is clearly a step up the escalation ladder. But you don't forget this was also the week when Vladimir Putin lowered the threshold for the use of Russian nuclear weapons when he modified Russia's nuclear doctrine. This was the week that the US and the UK gave Ukraine the green light to strike targets deep inside Russian territory. However, we mustn't forget when we talk about escalation, it is often Vladimir Putin who embraces using escalation. He was, of course, the man who ordered the full-scale invasion of Ukraine in 2022. He recently deployed North Korean troops to the front line. And now he's ordered the use of this new weapon. So he often uses escalation as a means to an end. Putin has often also dropped hints about the use of nuclear weapons since the very beginning. He warned the international community that were it to intervene, it would face historical consequences, a not so subtle hint about the use of nuclear weapons. Since then, the West has crossed several of these red lines. These include supplying tanks, supplying fighter jets, and now supplying these long-range missiles. And these threats have yet to materialize. Putin has yet to respond with a nuclear weapon, even though he has changed the nuclear doctrine this week. However, I would point out that Vladimir Putin, he does know that Donald Trump will soon be in the White House. So for now, it seems far more likely that Putin will avoid any major escalation if he thinks that having Donald Trump back in the White House will allow him to negotiate a favorable end to the war on his terms.
All right, thank you very much indeed for that, Andy.